What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about a little controversy going on with the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remastered collection. Funny enough, I actually got a review code for this game. I haven't played it yet. I'll be playing it over the next couple days. Want to do, some sort of video on it beyond this. So we're going to do, some sort of review, and I'm excited to play it. It's kind of an under-the-radar thing, in a week with Banishers and Skull and Bones, of course, the infamous Skull and Bones. But one thing that has been appearing online, there's really two things in all with this game. One is actually quite the legitimate leap in graphics, or just the looks from the original to now. They actually seemingly did a very, very good job with it. But what I want to talk about in this video is there's actually a warning, and you maybe have seen it, maybe not have seen it. We'll read it out. And they basically kind of prep people and warn people for, the adventures that they're about to go on. And people are kind of split on even the idea of them issuing this warning. So let's read it out, and then I'll tell you what I think. I definitely want to hear what you guys think in the comments. I do think it's going to kind of be split, to be honest with you. So, the games in this collection contain offensive depictions of people and cultures rooted in racial and ethnic prejudices. These stereotypes are deeply harmful, inexcusable, and do not align with our values at Crystal Dynamics. Rather than removing this content, we have chosen to present it here in its original form, unaltered, in the hopes that we may acknowledge its harmful impact and learn from it. There's a couple ways of going about this, okay? I want to say this because this is the first thing I thought of, I guess, when I saw it, okay? I actually will give them props for keeping the games the same. Now, I assume the games are the same. I say that without actually playing it, right? From what I've seen online, seems like the warning rings true, right? They wanted to issue the warning, but they kept everything untouched. On the simple fact of not erasing the past and not changing what these games were to what they want it to be now, I will give them props. Now, there's a couple different ways of going. I've seen people take the angle, going after them, right? A little bit more aggressive than what I just said. I've seen people talk about, well, they have no problem with admitting, if they believe this, if they actually believe it's this severe and this bad, and we'll talk about, what I think about that in a second. But if they believe it's this severe, they're still profiting off of it. And that's kind of how people that do these statements, online make a big deal out of this stuff. You can make a big deal out of it, but sometimes at least these people will say, well, hey, we want to do this, we want to do that. Oh, well, we're still going to make money off of it, right? Because we don't really care about these issues. We care about telling you we care, and then we don't really care and we make money off of it anyway. To be honest, I think that's a fair angle. I don't know if that, I don't want to believe, I guess. That's really where I'm at. I don't want to believe that's true. It could be true, and we've seen this happening on social media. Social media is so fake. There's so many people that are fake, and they'll say one thing. We used, many times actually, I've used the Hogwarts Legacy thing, right? There were so many arguments about Hogwarts Legacy that could be broken in just a second, and I think I did it rather well when Hogwarts Legacy was coming out. These people want to stand on such morally high grounds. I'm talking Hogwarts as an example. They want to stand on such morally high grounds, but it's a double standard because they don't do it themselves. A cell phone. How do you think you get some of the materials that are in the cell phone? There's some questionable activity to this day that takes place on planet Earth, exploiting people, outright doing some pretty terrible things to people in situations that many of us just kind of excuse because we live our kind of, safe lives, right? We want this cell phone. We don't really care how we get this cell phone. But then sometimes we want to make a social point on Twitter and we want to go after a video game. And I have said that, for Hogwarts Legacy, and you can maybe draw it back even to this situation here. I don't know. Again, I want to believe that they're simply doing it because they don't want to touch the past. Now, actually, if you take them at face value, they say why they're doing it. They say they want to basically call it out, but then also not change it. I think, again, my general viewpoint is I'm happy that they are, leaving it alone. And I do think in the modern world that we live in, this is probably the best you get. I'm not thrilled with them going after, because here's a couple more things, okay? And this is a ratting on myself kind of thing too. I've never played the original Tomb Raider. I maybe did a demo back in the day, but really I'll say the first Tomb Raider I really played. Maybe I played some of these games for 10 minutes back in the day, maybe rented them or whatever. But the first Tomb Raider was the reboot, okay? And I like Tomb Raider. I want the franchise to succeed. Obviously Uncharted took a lot from it. Uncharted's one of my favorite franchises. There's was a little battle, that went on kind of in that 2010 to 2016 period. Pretty good war between two franchises kind of going back and forth and maybe stealing ideas, maybe not. But I think it was healthy. I think it was a good kind of thing. So I want Tomb Raider to do good. But I mean, okay, in all honesty, I haven't played these games. I don't know if I played them, if my jaw would drop and say, oh my God, like what? So I don't actually know what they are calling out. I guess that's what I'm being honest about, okay? It could be terrible. It could be nothing at all. I really have no way to know. Now, I am of the mindset, generally, as if you've watched my past videos, I don't care too much about these things. I guess I would controversially say nobody is playing Tomb Raider and becoming a worse person because of it. Does that make sense? I say it as a joke, but I do kind of mean it. And you can say it funny, but can also have some truth to it, right? Same thing with Hogwarts. Again, like, I hate to keep... I'm sorry. But I do see a couple parallels here, right? Where it's like, if you play Hogwarts Legacy, are you the words that people told you were? There were some harmful, and I think in this way actually it was harmful. There were some bad words being thrown around at people to say, if you get Hogwarts Legacy, you are XYZ, okay? That was being said. Now, were you actually that when you played it? No, absolutely not. Otherwise, you would have 20, 30 million very, very bad people just from playing Hogwarts alone. I don't even want to know what they do in their day-to-day lives besides Hogwarts Legacy, but just the fact that they bought that game means they are some of the worst people on planet Earth, right? It's a stretch. It's a stretch, and it's, I think, kind of ridiculous to say out loud. Tomb Raider, okay, is it really going to make you all that bad? The people that played the original Tomb Raider, are they disgusting creatures of the earth right now because they embraced it and play? I mean, if you think about it, they made it a franchise. They played the first game, the second game, the third game. It became something, and obviously those games are deep. I know I'm joking about it. I think I'm getting a little bit more aggressive to the statement. I say this in respect for the developers. Like, again, I don't know fully what their angle is on this, right? I would just say, and I would say respectfully, even to people that do these kind of, things. Well, number one, again, I take the road of, I'm actually quite glad that it worked out, this situation. Like, I understand some people don't want the statement at all. Honestly, I would say I don't need the statement. I really do not need the statement. Is it crushing me to my soul that the statement exists? No, I am not going to think about it when falling asleep tonight. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to, pop in my head. It's not like that, truly. I make a video, one video, done. You know what I mean? So to me, you can just get rid of it. But honestly, again, in the world that we're in, the worst that could happen was you would get the statement. It would be throwing the games under the bus, which honestly, upon reading it again, it did. It's really, I think, kind of aggressive over the first couple games where it's like, hey, these, at least parts of them, are very, very bad. We are disgusted with them. We don't hold those values, and you shouldn't too. And we're just keeping them in the game, but we just want to remind you how bad it is. Again, it's a little aggressive to the original games. The original games, like, they kind of made the franchise. You don't have to necessarily like it, but you do have to, I think, accept that, that's what happened. So do I need the statement? No. In the world we live in, I could see that statement happening. And at the end of the statement, they said, so in light of all this news, we're taking out all of it. Anything we deem to be offensive in any way is no longer in the remastered collection of the games that we're remastering. We took those parts out. See, that's not right. That's not right. And I would say, maybe not specifically for this, but you could use it for this, but just in general, right? This erasing of, different things. I guess politically or whatever you want to say, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan just in general. You could probably tell that, but I think you should learn from the past. You know what I mean? You don't forget the past. So, like, if this really was as bad as they say, you don't erase it. And again, maybe that's their whole point. Maybe they're in that mindset. It was bad, but you know what? Instead of erasing it from history, because, you're doomed to repeat, instead of doing that, we're just going to put it in and just kind of call to it, right? Call to action. We're going to say, hey, just so you know, this stuff was bad, but we kept it in just so you, remember how bad it was. And maybe that's true. But I would say the premise there is actually pretty sound. And I would say, subscribe to that premise. The premise of, hey, it's awful. If you like it, you're awful. And then also, we're not bringing it. We're leaving that behind. So the games, they're about 85% full. So technically, we didn't remaster the entire game. We left like part of it out, and we did that on purpose, right? I'd actually prefer this over that because that is erasing. That's erasing it. And specifically when you're remastering a game, you should probably have the game, right? You shouldn't like take parts out that you just, oh, I don't like that part or I don't want that part. We're just going to kind of remove it. I mean, there are situations, we've talked about it before, like if you did an Uncharted 1 remake, yeah, maybe you add some stuff to kind of like flare it up a bit. It hasn't aged all that well, and if you just did a one-to-one remake, maybe it doesn't. You know what I mean? There are some situations where maybe adding or subtracting things does make sense. Again, for a situation like this, I'm happy with the end result. I'm not a huge fan of the warning, but I think it's fine. I think it's what they felt was necessary. They didn't necessarily need to. I actually kind of laugh when I read that out loud. I don't think they need to like attack it. They could, I don't know, you could just word it slightly differently, but you know what? It's fine. Whatever. It's the best case scenario for the world that we live in right now. Worst case is they would have erased, half the game, which we don't want that. We don't want that. So honestly, we have to take these little victories, I think, when we get them. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.